kicking off the content of Fanatical Prospecting on Chapter 13, Social Selling. And I had so much fun in here coming from just the history of the coaching and the conversation I've had with so many people that are out there saying, well, I got to do all this stuff in social media. That's the priority. And I love the fact that we all know, and the author puts in writing, there is no magic bullet. And all those folks out there selling you that, oh, social media is the strategy, video's the strategy. If you just do this, magic's going to happen and you're going to be flooded with business. They are selling you snake oil. They are selling you what you want to hear, and they are leading you down rabbit trails that don't actually make it happen. Time and again, it's about the conversation. So yes, we're going to get social selling set up. Yeah, there's a ton in here on doing it. And as the author points out, it's just another supportive piece. So what did you guys pull out of chapter 13? This may be a 2-dayer because this chapter is 25 pages long, and we're going to keep anchoring it back to the previous content.
I think one of the things that I took out of the chapter, well, I know one of the things that I took out of the chapter is, you know how we say we don't want to do, I don't want to make the call. I don't want to have the whatever. It's always referred to as the grind. And in the same way on page 128, social prospecting is a grind. So it's a great dream. I intend to have 3 YouTube videos out every week, or I need to, whatever your goal is. But just like anything in the business, your goal is to make money, to make contacts, to have an impact, to make an influence or be influential. But it's still all a grind. As you would probably say, anything worth doing is worth doing wrong at first, but it's worth doing.
And it's worth doing over and over and over. And so here's the key of what the author puts in here on this section. It's about consistency. All of this stuff is about consistency. Now, again, back to early on, the first consistency we've got to make sure we have happening is conversations. That we're doing that outbound work, that we're doing outbound nurturing of our database and hitting those 4 P's of what we're attempting to get accomplished, that we are having cold calls or cold conversations, bringing new people in. Those have to be happening first. And then if you're going to do anything socially, it's absolutely got to be consistent. Thanks, Tom. Who else? Celeste, you're coming on. I see you pushing at it. There you go.
What I was going to say is one of the things that I got from it was the commitment of time blocking, a regular schedule of when you're going to do it and not during the golden hours. So you're not to be checking your social anything during golden hours. Those are the hours that are used for your committed contact, making phone calls or meeting with people or whatever. But it's the off hours you also have to schedule for being, you get a 1-hour window to get your LinkedIn or your Facebook or your Twitter or Instagram, you name it, where your audience is where you need to be. And one of the comments I also got from it was, they said, if you're not somebody who does Instagram, but that's where your audience is, then you have to figure it out. You have to get over what your limitations are, which is actually me, because in the past, I have not been an Instagrammer. So how do you overcome that? And if you don't know how to do it, get somebody who can help you. Maybe they should be doing it.
Well, leverage can be a great tool. And there may be things you're just not comfortable with yet. I mean, my clientele is on MySpace, I think, at this point in life. And yes, I'll figure it out. MySpace. And we've all got new stuff coming. So let's going, what is MySpace, right?
How old are you?
Hey, I am old enough chronologically to play with some older folks, and yet I am young enough philosophically and energetically to even be on TikTok. So I'm covering the gamut. What else you guys have?
Oh my.
Oh my, it's a good nugget.
One. There was another one, and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just going to put it out there. This idea of people reticent about creating blogs because they're like, well, I don't know what to say. I don't have any good content. Well, if you read this chapter, the chapter actually talks about, in effect, using other people's articles. Use their articles to the extent of read the article and then interpret your thoughts on what they've said so that when they want, they can read the article, but more or less they're seeing you as the authority by the one that's interpreting. And whether or not you want to do this or not, it takes a lot less time to create, or not to create, but to interpret someone else's article than to try and craft your own from scratch, just because. And I will add one more element of this is that I don't believe that he had, when he wrote this book, ChatGPT at his disposal. Because you can get an article and you can run it through ChatGPT and say, rewrite this with this audience, and it will. So he didn't have that when he wrote the book.
So let's take a deeper dive on this concept, because when he wrote this book, as I am going through and reviewing, his resources, etc., he definitely R&D'd this. And almost every book we've covered so far, I can look through the content and see the R&D that they put in. And what does R&D stand for?
Rip
off and duplicate. Attaboy.
Research and development.
Well, I heard research and development, and that's the wrong side. And the folks that chipped in rip off and duplicate is the right side. That's the reality of what almost all content we look at is. I mean, as I went through and started analyzing the old bold content that I brought in the room, with every one of those bold laws, we could go back and find who actually said them originally. They came from other sources. Bold was an incredible rip off and duplicate and rearrange in a way that was highly impactful. So you guys can do that for this. You see something that hits you, and Celeste, brilliant nugget. Run it through AI and rewrite it in your voice to your audience. And then you could even ask it to give me a video script of this content from my voice to that audience. And then by all means, just one cut it and deliver it. I've shared with many of you, not all of you, anything you find on my YouTube channel, no, there is a 99% probability I have never watched it. I am recording content. I trust the people that are editing and creating. I got a few things on there I've noticed that have to be adjusted and cleaned up, because I've been in there a little bit lately, and almost all that content, I'm relying on them to get out there and get out there right. Kim, I see you're up, and then Doug, I see you're up. Oh, Kim.
Kim's gone.
I think she had to step away a moment. Doug, the floor is yours.
He refers to quite a few tools in here. One of them that I think is a really good example that I want to go check out is photofeeler.com that helps you pick out a good headshot and tells you kind of what a good headshot is opposed to the qualifications for one. So I know that's like the basic part of social selling, but it kind of starts with your headshot. And I can't, I mean, there's so many times when I go to a place and I look up somebody and they don't have a headshot. I'm like, well, okay. So, um, uh, but he does provide quite a few of those throughout this chapter, and it's going to take a little bit of going through this and kind of looking this stuff up, spending a little bit of time more with it than just reading it, to search these things out. But I think these are great suggestions to kind of clean things up, like you said, Russ, because it's a constant cleaning thing. It's a constant management thing. Upgrade everything. And he also mentioned in here one time about uh, uh, updating your profiles regularly, like once a quarter. So really good suggestions through this. So so anyway, that's what I had to share.
Excellent. Well, and by the way, it's probably why we're going to run this over 2 days, because I would love some of you to do some of these in the next 24 hours. Grab a nugget and run with it. Maybe you find a great headshot tool over and above this, because there's all kinds of AI headshot tools now that you can utilize.
I've got a friend that used a tool. He took one picture, I think it was one picture, and he got 200 headshots. He's got different kind of clothes on. He's got a beard. He doesn't have a beard. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal what AI will do now.
So reach out to him and find out what that tool is and bring it back tomorrow so people can leverage and share that stuff. Because if we do just a piece a day, a small thing a day, like a headshot today, and upload it tomorrow, and you do something every day, it's going to be magical in your world. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, and it doesn't take a whole big block of time in a day. Most of us tend to significantly overestimate what we can get done in a day. And then we get hard on ourselves and even a little down. And yet we highly underestimate what we can do in a year with just like 5 minutes a day. Magic can happen. So let's get it on the calendars. Let's get it going. And who else has something out of this content? Ryan.
I think the biggest thing that what I'm hearing from all of this is just do it. Just spend 5 minutes, guys. You guys are spending like half an hour on this call, but do you do anything after you implement? Like after this call gets over, are we implementing anything? Like that, like to me, like if I'm taking in nuggets, I'm implementing as soon as I get off this call. That's why I have a half an hour in between this and my team call with 12 other agents to know what we need to implement and how we're going to do it during the weeks that we can get better. So, but if you're just on the call and you're just listening along and you're not implementing, you're subscribing to something that, you know, it's good for the soul. It's like chicken noodle soup, but is it going to get you where you want to be in your business? You got to implement, guys.
Boom. Absolutely get this stuff done. Take a nugget each piece. And by the way, part of that is even implementing in this call, showing up, cameras on, and participating in the conversation. A piece of this implementing is actually getting the book. A piece of it is actually doing the reading. And again, you can miss a day. It's okay. I love Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. If you just implemented 80% of the time, man, magic would happen. Justin, and then Jeanette. What do you got, Justin?
So I think a big takeaway, and I'm glad that we spread this out over 2 days because I got about halfway through in terms of being ready for today. But a big takeaway for me was these 5 C's. So connecting, creating, curating, conversion, consistency. I'm not even entirely sure that I 100% understand all 5 of those as far as how to apply them in my business, but I do understand connecting. So when we look at DMD4, and one of the things that I typically haven't gotten to is social media, which is you. So whether that be for clients or agents, I think something I'd like to implement is early in the week, like Sunday night, Monday morning, go into social media, whether it be all of them or select ones, just send a quick message. And what that's going to do, it's going to connect, but as those people respond, now it's becoming conversations that count for the rest of the week and what we're trying to do. So I just see this as it's a tool to make the real job easier. It's leverage to the real job.
And think about that piece if it was Sunday, Justin. I love that kind of starting off the week with it. And let's say you're one of those, like I am, that you've got on Facebook, 5,000. That's the maximum friends you can have. So now you have a reason to reach out, and part of it is to clean up. Part of it's to have a conversation. Is somebody really willing to have a conversation with you, or are you just a body that got added? So I love doing that. Every time I'm bumping up real close to 5,000, I do 100 of those. Scrub it out. Hey, I'm at 5,000. I'm reaching out. I want to find out what I can do to help you and to even see if you're going to respond. Because I'm at 5,000, I got to clear some space. And for those that aren't interactive in my world, I'm going to start clearing those out. And you'd be amazed how many people don't respond. They're not on the platform anymore. They're not doing anything with it. And you can start scrubbing it out. And if you have all interactive people, you're going to have a lot more influence, a lot more connection. Obviously, that's going to turn into more business. Jeanette, go.
Second. The thing that we've consistently seen through all of the books is that everybody who says that cold calling is dead is inaccurate, is incomplete, and it's constantly showing in here the differences in results of needing to make the calls. And it says incorporate social media, but it will never replace the actual conversations in it, and certainly not in what we're doing. Yes, it's an excellent strategy to implement with what we're doing. He uses whichever one he does to, and encourages, use it to enhance, but never replace making our calls. And he showed the numbers of, okay, so that's fine. You spent all of this time and you got this many likes, and how many dollars did that bring you? As compared to it brought him no dollars. Yet in each of the 5 days experimental time with that, he ended up doing 17 transactions himself. Was it 17 transactions?
Yep. It was 17.
So he got that compared to 17 likes that didn't bring anything. Who's going to pay the bills? And that's the bottom line of what we're doing here. I haven't avoided social media. It's a time, it's too easy to get into it. And so when we're doing that, are we doing social media to see the people or to watch all the little videos that are there? Because that's where we lose, because the videos will entertain us and placate us and take us away from what needs to be done. They're interesting, sure. Set a timer if you're going to do that. Speaking to myself on that, but the social media time, whatever it is about the people, not necessarily the videos. And even their little training videos that they've got on there, that gives us some information for R&D. Again, come back to who are the people and what are they saying and what are the opportunities, what's going on in their lives, and add that to our database. That's where the richness comes.
Here's a nugget I'm going to give you on this piece, and I want to get back into what Jeanette said. If you find an agent in social media, or you have one in social media you like, Go back a year or two in their content and just start R&Ding it. You can literally roll right into the same persona, the same messaging by doing that. Here's the key though, guys. How many of you, by show of hands, have all the revenue you desire? How many of you, by show of hands, have all the appointments you desire? Okay. The funnel means that you need more conversations to make that happen, period. And so whether it's social media, whether it's networking, whether it's some sales events you're going to go to, whatever it is, if you're not turning it into conversations, and a whole lot of them, it isn't worth a penny. You got to get the conversations up. And so anything here on the social selling, look at it as, how do I convert it to a conversation? Is this going to drive inbound conversations? Am I asking Rachel Adams? I am actually the one that got Rachel Adams Lee into real estate. And Rachel, I love following her, love what she does. And I saw one of her posts today, and it flat out had, it was a recruiting consumers post, and it had, call me. There's no such thing as a silly question. Anything you have, let's talk. It was all about converting it into conversation. So make sure whatever you're doing, that's part of this focus on the social selling piece. What else do you guys have?
All right, I got another one. You know, when they were talking about, and I don't remember exactly where it was in the chapter, but I think it was towards the end on chapter 13, where it says, as a business you're operating, you should be thinking about following people on LinkedIn and whatever, I'm going to add what other social media you can find for them. Start by creating a relationship by following them on their social media. And what's interesting is if you're really like engaged with content that is a reflection of your brand, they will likely follow you back. And that opens up your network to everyone that they know. So it's a very obvious first step when you first meet someone, follow them. Get on LinkedIn, see if there's a profile. And if there isn't one, ask them, what's your profile on LinkedIn? If they don't have one, fine. But, you know, do the same thing with Facebook, whatever other social they're sitting on. And I guess the author seems to really enjoy Twitter. You know, I'm not a Twitter person, but what the hell? But, you know, we all have our thing. And that's a good first step.
Nonetheless, it's a huge nugget, not just a good first step. I wrote it down, which I didn't pull it from the content until you spoke it in. Every single person that you are building a relationship with, whether it's consumer or agent, what if it was part of your protocol that after call time in the evening, you went through and followed them and checked them out? LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, TikTok.
And Twitter. I forgot the other part of it. Handwrite a note.
That's your wheelhouse. You're awesome at that, Celeste. Elaborate on that.
So every time we have a relationship beginning with someone, you don't realize that most of us, when was the last time you got a handwritten note from someone saying how wonderful it was to have that conversation? I actually just listened to something the other day, and they said the first sentence should not be to thank them for something, the gift or whatever it is that happened. It's the first line should be specific about how they impacted you, and then go on to thank them. So remember, the construction of a thank you note is so powerful because it makes them aware that you were listening to them. whatever it was that they said, that's the first thing you should start with. And then maybe say thank you for something. I don't know what, but you have a very focused audience when you send a thank you note to acknowledge them in that first moment. And what are you using in that moment? Not to sell yourself, but to get them to realize you're somebody of value that they want to be in relationship with.
Excellent nuggets, and you are the queen of those personal notes. Alicia, I saw you come on and off. Justin, I've got you. Carrie, I've got you. CNN versions, what do you got? Justin?
I will go then. An idea that came to me as Celeste was bringing about the first part of that nugget prior to the handwritten notes was the followers of common interests. So, I wouldn't probably think the ideal thing to do is to follow the followers of other real estate agents I aspire to be like. But whatever we're building our business on, or our interest, if it's a town, a religion, a hobby, a kind of dog, a kind of food, whatever. But find the people that follow those things and follow them. Like for me, it'd be motorsports things. I could easily go follow 5,000 people in the next month. And if, 20% or 50% followed me back, what would that look like? I wouldn't have thought of that without what you said, Celeste. So thank you.
Awesome. Carrie, what do you got?
I was just going to say, Celeste and I were talking last week. Was Glenna there? I don't know. There was another person there. And we were talking about prospecting and making calls. And one of the things we discussed was the Ninja Selling book. And so I went back, and over the weekend, I was listening to that on my Audible. And I was, where it was being put together, like how many things are, can relate to each other. And personally, it really just inspired me to follow and meld those together.
Awesome. Yes, we have covered a lot of great content. Here's the fun thing for all of you. If you haven't been part of that, a lot of those will rerun. There'll be yearly content for us to go back through, look at again, implement again. As is conversation time. So let me shut this down real quick.